Welcome to Divine Earth School, the place where high achievers and spiritual seekers come to embrace, embody, and explore and express their divinity, where I talk all things health, wellness, life, business, and spirituality. So let's dive in. Hello, 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 Mosaic Souls. Hey, Mosaic Souls, this is RachaelAlexander, artist and Mosaic Soul Mentor, aka spiritual life and business coach with flair. And today I really wanted to come and share with you guys on how to forgive yourself. First of all, Happy New Year. I feel like I haven't done a video on here, a live video on here in a really long time. And I wanted to come live with you guys here today and share with you on this topic. So if you're joining me live, feel free to say hi in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna wait a few seconds and let you guys come in, but feel free to say hi. If you're joining me back, welcome back to Divine Earth School. I'm super excited to be here. And so this topic is all about how to forgive yourself. And one of the things that I really work with my clients on is how to incorporate more self-love and self-care into their day-to-day lives. And really, self-love and self-care is not only just sort of like actions that you take to feel good in your life, like, you know, getting your hair done or your nails done or stuff like that, but it's really sort of like an internal shift of recognizing how to put yourself first in your life and not feeling apologetic for putting yourself first in a lot of ways. So forgiveness is an aspect that I know a lot of my clients struggle with, and some of the things that I used to struggle with a lot in regards to just sort of dealing with that inner critic, you know, that self-saboteur, the inner, you know, critic that is just always sort of berating you or looking down on you or feeling guilt or shame, you know? So if you're joining me live, feel free to say hi. So let's talk about how to forgive yourself, right? For past mistakes or for things that you know, not being the best version of yourself or for not achieving what you set out to do, all that good stuff, right? Let's talk about that, right? And why that's so important. So forgiveness, you know, is really a human concept. And, you know, on this channel, I share very much so from viewpoints from a higher perspective, higher consciousness. Welcome, Miss Annabella. Welcome, welcome. So I usually share from a very higher consciousness state of viewpoint, right? Because a lot of times when we approach things from just a human standpoint, we kind of miss the golden nuggets that can be mined even further. So forgiveness is sort of this human concept that stems from this idea that you or someone else has committed a sin, right? And when you think about a sin, you think of from the Bible to miss the mark, right? You've missed the mark, you didn't hit the goal, or you did something a certain way that you wish you hadn't said or did in that way, right? You've made a mistake, all that other stuff, right? So forgiveness is this concept of being able to, right, have love and appreciation, or at least acceptance around what it is, that sin that was committed, right? So when we think about forgiveness of ourselves, I really want to approach this from a different standpoint, right? And understanding that in human form, right, we can't really ever miss the mark. Even the horrific things that go on in the world, and trust me, I've witnessed and been privy to a lot of horrible things, especially now, you know, with all the things that are going on overseas and even right here at home. So it's just understanding that, you know, even on a human level, from our higher selves, we can't really ever truly miss the mark, okay? And the reason why I say that, or create sin, is because this is all an illusion. And it's not to diminish our human journey, because we came here to play on this playground called life on planet Earth, right? But when you start to approach it from that standpoint, forgiveness feels like it dissipates even further, right? So approaching this concept from higher consciousness, from your soul's perspective, through the eyes of source, through the eyes of God, right? If you were to look at yourself from any past mistakes or any past, you know, actions or things that you've done, or maybe you set a goal and you didn't hit it and you feel guilt and shame around that, whatever it is that you're wanting to bring forgiveness to yourself for, if you can start to see yourself through the eyes of your heart, through the eyes of your soul, would you think that your higher self or your soul is berating you? Do you think that your higher self or your soul is saying, you did this wrong, I hate you, why didn't you do what I told you to do, right? Do you think that your higher self or your soul is saying, you know, you're such a fuck up, you know, why didn't you do XYZ, excuse the language. but yeah, so think about it from that perspective, right? So, and sometimes you are where you are. So if you can't get to the perspective of your higher self, think of it as your past mistakes or your past deeds or actions as a child, right? You only do the best you can with the knowledge that you have in the moment, right? So if, let's say, you blow up on your children and you know you yell at them and all of a sudden you're feeling guilt and shame and you need to forgive, not only ask them for their forgiveness, but you want to feel forgiveness for yourself. In that moment of feeling under pressure, maybe lack of sleep and XYZ, all these other factors that contribute to you blowing up on your children, right? This is just an example. Can you bring love and compassion to yourself in that moment? And this is not to excuse any of our sort of lower energy behaviors. It's just bringing a bed of energetic love around our human journey such that we can traverse all of the past quote unquote mistakes or past mishaps that we've created or done so that we can move forward closer and closer to who and what we desire to be in our lives, right? So that's really what forgiveness is all about. So how do you get there, right? How do you get there if you're in self-loathing, if you're in self-sabotage, or if you're in, you know, self-criticism around yourself? Bring yourself, one of the things you could do is sort of use affirmations or just first, okay, let me break this down into 3 steps. First step is to recognize the thoughts around what the thoughts of self-loathing. What is the thought or the you know, concept or the emotion or energy that's coming up for you? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it, you know, thoughts around, you know, I shouldn't have done that, or why didn't I do this yet? Or, you know, is it future based? Is it past based? Is it current based? Like, what is the energy and the thought process and the mindset that's coming up for you in the present moment? And start to take note of that, right? Get a sheet of paper, write down in your journal, right? Get your journal out, start jotting down any thought processes that are repetitively coming up, right? This sense of forgiveness, wanting to forgive yourself, is sense of guilt or shame, or a sense of, usually those are the 2 main things, guilt and shame, and that comes with a whole bunch of other different flavors, right? So when you have that going on, now that you've written down what the thought process is, I shouldn't have, or I should have already, or why didn't I do this, notate the thoughts. And then the second step is to now see if you can bring some level of spaciousness around it, right? If you can step out of yourself versus you being yourself in this moment thinking, oh God, I suck. I'm such a shitty mom, or I'm such a shitty wife, or I you know, I haven't even accomplished what I set out to do. Why am I XYZ, right? All those negative inner critic thoughts that are coming up, right? If you're joining me in live, feel free to say hi in the chat. Now that you've taken notice of the thoughts, now what I want you to, and you've written them down, now what you want to do is bring a sense of separation from who you are as a human being, right? And start to see yourself. Just bring a level of spaciousness. If you can put that version of you outside of you and like you're sitting across from her, right? If like that version of you is your child, or, you know, a niece or a nephew or whatever, and look at them and their action steps with what they knew in that moment. Can you bring a level of compassion? Can you bring a level of love? And can you bring a level, if not love or compassion, can you at least bring acceptance to it, right? Past actions, or you haven't hit where you want to be, can you bring a level of love, compassion, or at least acceptance to it? Acceptance is sort of the bare minimum, right? And when you hit that acceptance, then the next step is to then, you know, sit with it and breathe, right? And one of the mantras or affirmations that you can say is, I am committed to loving myself through this. I am committed. If you can't say, I forgive myself, right? Maybe you can't really quite forgive yourself, however traumatic or whatever it is. Maybe you can say, I am committed to loving myself, or I'm committed to eventually forgiving myself. Maybe I can't feel that right now. I can't feel love or compassion for myself right now, but I'm committed to accepting myself for what has happened, or what I have not created yet, or what I have not achieved yet, or what I did in the past, or whatever. Can I bring, like, I am committed to bringing love and acceptance to myself, right? Because that sort of progressive language that you start to bring in your mind of this affirmation or this sort of mantra helps you get even closer to that self-forgiveness, right? Depending on how much self-loathing and self-criticism that you're in, right? Just having that little hook between the actual forgiveness and where you are right now helps you bridge that gap of self-loathing to complete self-forgiveness and self-love, right? So having that sort of transition statement, or that sort of transition piece of I am committed to, or I am willing to be on the journey to loving myself, or accepting myself, or having more self-compassion even though I did XYZ, or even though I haven't done XYZ, right? So that's sort of like the three quick pathway to get there, depending on how bad you are, how like shitty you're feeling, you know what I mean? Let me know if this is making sense in the comments below, if this is at all helpful. If not, I can try to tackle it from a different perspective. But that's really how self-forgiveness, at least for me, has shown up, right? I can give you an example in my own life where sort of the inner critic will come up for me. Usually my inner critic, it doesn't come up often because I meditate and I'm just always aware of my thoughts. But sometimes, every now and then, it will show her little ugly head. And I have to be like, wait. I'm a divine being. What's going on here? So, but how my inner critic kind of shows up is usually in my life and business, when I've like set a goal, or I've set an intention and I'm working towards that goal, and maybe I don't think I've hit that goal as fast as I intended to, or things got in the way, a left turn hit me, and I'll have this sort of inner critic thinking like, you know, I should have done this already, or why didn't I do this, or man, you know, it's a lot of criticism around that, right? And so for me, when that inner critic voice comes up, it's the same steps that I just shared with you. Is, okay, if I'm looking at myself, usually I go straight to the spiritual perspective, right? Of looking at myself through the eyes of source, of looking at myself through the eyes of my soul, and shifting, what is my soul's perspective on this, right? What is my soul's perspective on all this stuff that's going on, right? When I'm dead, will this really matter? I kind of go there already because I'm just so aware that all of this human life is just sort of a skit, and we're only here for a short time. And the reason why I go there, let me just give you a backstory, is because I've experienced a lot of death in my life, from friends, family members, loved ones. I've experienced a lot of death, and I've watched a lot of near-death experiences. And I just know that all of this whole human journey is we're only here for a very short period of time. So I can shift to my higher self perspective very quickly, just because I've cultivated that inner awareness. But if I can't, sometimes I can't, I'll use the tips that I just gave you. I'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, let me just see, what is this repeating thought? Ugh, I didn't accomplish what I set out to do. Man, I'm such a bad person. God, I suck. You know, I'm so worthless. And I don't really get that bad, but sometimes, every now and then, maybe like once in a very blue moon, the inner critic will come up, and then I have to check her. And when that inner critic comes up, I do the steps. I say, okay, now that I know what thoughts is going up. Hello, it's Misty. Hello from Barbados. Welcome. So now that I know what the thoughts are, can I see things from my higher self? If I'm looking at myself from my soul's perspective, if I'm looking at myself from my higher self's perspective, is this really something that I need to be worrying myself about? Is this something that I really should be beating up myself about, right? And if that doesn't do the trick, because sometimes the thought is so deep, or the emotion around the guilt or the shame or the I hate myself energy might really be there, which is very, very rare for me. But every now and then. But if it does come up, then I say, okay, I go back to that sort of linkage piece that I say, you know, I'm willing to accept that I'm not where I want to be in this moment, or I'm willing to accept that I made that decision and it led to this outcome, right? I'm willing to accept, or I'm committed to loving myself through this so that I can move closer to who I want to be, or I can move closer to what I want to see in my life, right? And I go there, and just that alone, you guys, brings so much spaciousness, brings so much level of just peace around whatever is going on internally, that I can breathe and step back from the self-loathing for a second, that I can breathe and step back from the self-hatred or the guilt and the shame around past actions or what I haven't achieved yet or whatever it is, right? Just having that sort of linkage brings a level of peace and serenity around. Good, I'm glad this is resonating. Brings a sense of level of peace and energy around just simply, you're welcome, just being able to let go of the guilt, let go of the shame, let go of feeling like I haven't achieved XYZ, or feeling like I'm such a crappy person or crappy girlfriend, or feeling like I'm whatever, all the inner critic stuff that might come up, right? In that moment, right? So use that and let me know if it helps you guys. You know, I'm committed to, that's sort of an affirmation, or I'm willing to accept, you know, or I am on my journey to loving myself. You know, those are sort of three little things that you can use. I'm committed to, I'm willing to accept, or I'm on my journey to, right? I'm on my journey to loving myself. I'm on my way to accepting myself. I'm on my way to forgiving myself. I'm not quite there yet, but I can bring love and acceptance, or I can bring acceptance to, this is what happened and everything is okay. I'm still breathing. I'm still alive, right? Everyone's still doing okay. Everyone's ultimately okay. And I'll make better decisions in the future. I'll move from a higher level of awareness now because I've made that quote unquote mistake, or I didn't do what I set out to do, or I didn't do what I said I was going to do, whatever it is, right? So I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for showing up. And I definitely wanted to share that I'm going to be having a masterclass, a free masterclass this Sunday, I think at 6 p.m., this Sunday at 6 p.m. So I'll put a link in the description after I hop off. So, and it's all about how to love yourself, or 5 simple ways that you can start being more kind to yourself starting today, especially when you don't feel like it. So forgiveness is a part of that, but I have some other really good tips that I want to share with you in this masterclass coming up this Sunday. So definitely be on the lookout. I'll put the link in the description box below for you guys to sign up. And hopefully this, great. I'm so glad to that this is helpful. And I will see you guys this Sunday if that is something that interests you. Hopefully this has been helpful. Yes, you are love. We are all love, right? We are all love. So as always, flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being, and your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore and express and experience while on this planet. So vibrate higher, and remember, what you conceive is what you receive, what you expect is what you'll get, and however you feel is what will become real for you. So vibrate higher, and I will chat with you guys next time. Peace, love, and light.